Woof. Oh, all right. So if you're on YouTube, I am also on TikTok. And my face looks a little shiny, so we'll do this. All right. Got the new puppy letting everybody know that he's here. If you're on TikTok, I'm on YouTube. All right. Today we're going to do Psychic Saturday. And this will be a little bit different because everybody's used to kind of getting onto TikTok and then we just kind of pull cards and that sort of thing. You can also see how much better TikTok makes a person look if you go to both. YouTube needs to up their filter game. All right. Oh, you know what? I meant to tell everybody for my class that I'm coming on to do the Psychic Saturdays. And I can't recall what time I said I was going to do this. Arlo, do you mind? Do you mind? All right. He does mind. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So I know that a lot of people aren't finding me on YouTube yet, especially for a live. So that's why I'm also on TikTok. And this morning we're going to do Psychic Saturday. And so it's going to be a little more of a different vibe than I usually do on TikTok. And we're going to talk about what is psychic, what are the differences. And we'll do this on Saturday mornings in March and April. All right. Well, as people join, I will give everybody a little more time to join. Because I did not put a time on this, I don't think. Does anyone recall if I put a time on this over here on TikTok land? I know I talked about it. I said I was going to do March and April, Saturday mornings, psychic education. I don't recall if I put a time on it. And if you're on YouTube watching this at a different time, just scroll forward to when I start talking about it. Oh, thank Marzabar. All right. All right, so if you're new here, my name is Mariana. I'm a psychic, an evidential medium, an animal communicator, and a nonverbal communicator, all rolled up into the energy reader. So we're going to talk about what's psychic today. So, understanding and developing your abilities. If you're on TikTok, I'm also on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, I'm also on TikTok. All right. So a psychic is someone who can perceive information beyond what we normally walk around perceiving, right? We perceive hot, cold, irritation, happiness, laughter, that sort of thing. But when you dip into your psychic skills, if you will, because we all have them, you're actually going into a different way of sensing energy and receiving messages from the subconscious, or even tapping into future or past events. So when someone says they are psychic, most of the time that's what they mean. Some people, there are a lot of different definitions out there, and sometimes you actually have to ask the person that you're talking to, what do you mean by psychic? What is your idea of psychic? I wish, let's see, cameras. There we go. It's a little bit better. Let's see. There we go. Oh, there we go. I'm a little more clear. It was blurry. All right. So when you talk to someone, a psychic and a medium are two different things. And that's what a lot of people don't seem to be kind of comprehending. You can be psychic and not be a medium, but most mediums are psychic. Doesn't mean every psychic is a medium. A medium literally talks to people who are passed over. That is the entire definition, more or less, of a medium. You have different frequencies within mediumship. I kind of call them the superhighway. However, mediums talk to dead people. So whether you're talking to animals that are past, or whether you're talking to humans that are past, or whether you're even dipping into previous events that have happened in the past somewhere in the world, right? Like maybe you're at a Civil War battleground and you're trying to dip into the actual history of the moment. That's going to be kind of a form of mediumship because you're bringing through people who are obviously passed over. And then I want to talk about the difference. Okay, I just said that. The difference between a psychic and a medium. So psychics use extrasensory perception to gain insights into situation, people, or events, which is more or less what I just said. They may use tools like tarot cards, pendulums, or astrology to enhance their readings. So then I defined, let's see where I put this. So then I defined extrasensory perception because people talk about it, right? People talk about ESP, but nobody necessarily defines it for people. Some do, some don't. ESP refers to the ability to receive information beyond your 5 traditional senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste, smell. So psychic and or energy reading a lot of times is your senses, the senses you already have, but on steroids a little bit. Hey, True Blue. All right. We're doing a teaching Saturday. See how this works out. I'm on YouTube and I'm on TikTok, and so it's going to take a while for people to find me live on YouTube for sure. I can see that because there's 0 over here. That's all right because it plays back, right? All right. So what is extrasensory perception? Extrasensory perception is whatever is beyond the 5 traditional senses. So the types of ESP, this is where you have your clear audience. This is where you have your clairvoyance. This is where you have your clairsentience, claircognizance, telepathy, precognition. These words are not that easy to say at 8:30 in the morning. Precognition, retrocognition, and psychometry. Now we're going to get into the clairs next Saturday. So join us here next Saturday to get into the clairs, because even we have clairvoyance, clear seeing, clairaudience, clear hearing, clairsentience, clear feeling, and claircognizance, clear knowing. There's still more. There are very many more, actually. There's we'll get into that next Saturday. I have to dangle something to get you guys to come back, right? I should have told. I feel bad. I should have told my energy readers that I was on live right now. I don't know how I could do that without stopping everything. All right. So a medium, though, is a person who communicates with spirits, acting as a bridge between the living and those who have passed on. While all mediums have psychic abilities, not all psychics are mediums. Psychic versus intuition. So people say intuitively they know something. Does that mean they're saying they're psychic? Not necessarily. Intuition is that natural gut feeling or instinct that everyone has, often guiding them in decision making without conscious reasoning. Psychic ability is a heightened form of intuition where a person consistently receives verifiable information beyond logical deduction. And just to be clear, I'm going to do this for about a half an hour, and then we're going to go back to TikTok and do some free card reads. All right, so that's the difference between psychic and intuition. And we talked about the difference between being psychic and being a medium. So, for example, on the psychic versus intuition, you might have an intuitive feeling that a friend will call, but a psychic may hear their name, see a vision, or feel an emotional signal moments before the call happens. So they just have a little more, right? Or I should say probably that they just recognize it a little bit more. Because honestly, our intuitive ability and our psychic ability are very intertwined. They're very similar. And once you get to be practicing your psychic skills and your abilities, there's really not that much difference between them. So just briefly, a brief history of psychic abilities. Ancient civilizations like Egypt, Greece, and China had the seers and the oracles, and they absolutely, they were the epitome, right? They were treated very well. They were treated like we treat doctors now. Indigenous cultures have long practiced shamanism, connecting with spirits and the elements. In the 19th and 20th centuries, spiritualism gained popularity, leading to scientific studies on psychic phenomena. Now, you know and I know that the skeptics and the people who... thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. You're so smart. Thank you. So in the 19th and the 20th centuries, they did start studying it, but you know as well as I do that when you deal with skeptics or when you deal with people who don't believe in what we do, that what they study can often be less than ideal. They're looking for ways almost to put magic in a bottle, right? And I say this isn't magic, but it's magical for sure. And it's very difficult to capture what we do because it is often not replicatable. So I can't sit here and say that I can get exactly the same thing for Mary that I can get for Tom, that I can get for Sally. I can't get often the same exact type of a reading because each person has their own frequency, their own energy signature, right? And then today, psychic abilities are studied in parapsychology and used in various forms, from personal guidance to crime investigations. And oh fuck. All right. So somebody just called. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you. Um, I just had a phone call because I forgot to do not disturb. So this will be a little learning curve trying to do a little class on YouTube and TikTok versus just normally getting on here and talking. So why on earth would anybody want to even say they're psychic or strengthen their psychic abilities? Self-growth, definitely. Our psychic abilities is our own intuition trying to talk to us, right? It is our own self trying to say, hey, pay attention to this, or hey, pay attention to that. It is our defense mechanisms, right? Our intuitive abilities are, stay away from that person, or that person isn't who they present themselves to be, or you should take a left instead of a right, and you just avoided an accident that was a 3-car pileup on a snowy day. That's our intuition. That's why we would want to strengthen our intuition and our psychic ability. Morning, Dawn. So if you're just new joining us, I'm on YouTube and I'm on TikTok, and I'm trying to do a Psychic Saturday, and we're talking about just kind of the intricacies of being psychic this morning. All right. This is only going to be about 20 minutes, half an hour maybe. Maybe 20 minutes because we're at the 12-minute mark right now. And then next Saturday, we're going to be talking about the clairs, and we're also going to be talking about the differences in the clairs. All right, so self-growth, definitely. Strengthening your connection to your higher self and enhancing your intuition is obviously going to be one reason to develop your psychic abilities. Helping others. You can assist in guiding friends, families, or clients through difficult situations. When I come on here and I do tarot, or when I come on here and I do mediumship. So psychic and mediumship, I have to remember to keep them separate, because that's literally what I'm trying to teach, is that they are two separate things. But when I come on here, it's to help others, right? It's in order to help guide people, validate information, brainstorm information, have conversations that people wouldn't otherwise have. Another reason to develop your psychic abilities is just personal protection, which I talked about just a second ago. Heightening your awareness of energy shifts, allowing you to recognize negative influences before they affect you. So that would be energy vampires. That would be relationships that aren't going to serve you. That would be possibly relationships that you're already in, that you've always had that tingly feeling that like something is off, and you want to go a little bit deeper. This is one way to figure out what exactly is off, right? Is to develop your intuitiveness and to heighten your psychic abilities. All right, and then spiritual exploration. It just deepens your understanding of the unseen world. I know skeptics often talk about the unseen world as if it's a joke, but we know that there's another side to the world. Otherwise, where do people go? Because we don't actually die. We're energy, and if you were to believe the prevailing talk in science, energy cannot be destroyed. So if energy can't be destroyed, where do we go? Right? Skeptics want us to think we just die and we feed the birds and the worms and stuff like that. But there's too much evidence of another side. There's too much evidence of reincarnation. There's too much evidence of past lives. There's too much evidence of astral projection. There's too much evidence that there is something else out there. And so when you start dipping your toe into being psychic, you start seeing parts of the world that you wouldn't otherwise see, which is the unseen world. All right, let's keep going. Do I have any questions so far? I don't know about giving a class on here. This is very different. This is very different. Do I have any questions on TikTok? People aren't used to finding me live on YouTube for sure. All right, we're going to keep going then. So another reason to develop understanding and develop your psychic abilities. Oh, great question. So Rose says, how does mental health play into this? And that's a great question, and I love that question, because I think that there were a lot of people in the past who have probably been committed to institutions who were literally just communicating with the other side, knowingly or unknowingly, right? I have a family member that struggles from mental health, and I don't talk about this kind of stuff with him because he already struggles with what's real and what isn't real. And so that's a great question that I'm not sure that I'm completely qualified, right? Because there's so many different mental health conditions, and I'm not a therapist or a psychologist or even a psychiatrist or any of those kind of things. And I do try to stay in my lane with that, but I definitely think that mental health, especially when, how would I say this? When there is a question between what is real and what isn't real, it isn't a good time to dip into the unseen world, right? Rose says, I've been picking up little things like intuition wise, but also struggle with things like that. I got you. So, Ro, I would really sit in a quiet space and I would try and determine what's my imagination. And this is the hard part. We have to use our imagination to be psychic, right? But then we sit there and we question, well, what is real? What do I know to be real? And what do I think to be real? And the other part with that, especially with mental health, is our trauma will inform our intuition. And there's people on here that say, just ask your intuition, it's never wrong. I do not believe that for a minute, because our intuition is per person, and per person our trauma is going to be different. And so our intuition can sometimes pick up our fears and our trauma and play tricks on us. And that is 100% a reality of when you start getting, into your mental space, and then you start trying to determine what is psychic, what is mediumship, what is psychometry, are there demons, are there ghosts, are there, you start getting into the nitty gritty of it, and sometimes your mind can absolutely play tricks on you. Absolutely. Good morning, Hannah from Hungary. I love that. I do love TikTok is a mixed blessing, right? I love that it's international and we get to talk to people all over the world. But then it's also a bit of a love-hate relationship with TikTok. I keep getting these requests for battles, and I'm like, I don't know how to turn that off. Let's see. Don't ask me again, for crying out loud. So Hannah says, it's really hard for me to differentiate fear from my intuition. Good morning, Mary Jo. Absolutely. Sometimes it is, Hannah. And so what we have to do is we have to be in charge of the fear, right? Not let the fear be in charge of us. So for example, if you're new here, I'm live on YouTube and I'm live on TikTok. So for example, the fear of traveling, right? I have some apprehension and I have some anxiety about traveling. So what did I do? I overdid it. I'm going to go travel for like 18 days. I marked it off on my calendar and I was like, Jesus, you really overdid this. It's in the privacy setting. I'll check that out. So so I know I have fear and anxiety about traveling, right? So I can pick out that fear. Now I need to be aware of that when I listen to my intuition. Do you see where I'm going here? So once you have your fear kind of identified, then you can pick it apart within your intuition. So how much of my fear is real and how much is just anxiety? I can marry them up together and I can kind of separate the energies, if you will. Does that make sense? Exactly. And sometimes you just have to do it regardless, even if you're scared. Absolutely. Mary Jo says, tackle those fears. And Hannah said the other one. Good morning, Jamie. So it's absolutely sometimes just something that you have to tackle. But within there, you do need to at least check in with your intuition, right? So I'm going to be checking in with my intuition the whole time I'm traveling and saying, is this just my anxiety or is this something I actually need to worry about? Let's keep going. All right, so number 6 is another reason you would want to heighten or work on your psychic abilities or learn how to use your psychic abilities. Being empathetic and psychically sensitive means you can deeply understand and feel other people's emotions, which has benefits and challenges. So really fast, I had a student last night. Was that just last night? No, the night before. I had a student who felt all of my recent emotions, and it was overwhelming for her because she's so psychically sensitive to other people's energy. Now, there's a lot of real estate between that, right? Some people don't get that involved. Some people don't tap into emotions as much as she did. But that was one of my struggles when I first started learning all of this, is that I was just like her. I would feel what the other person was feeling to the point that I would be nauseous, or my heart would palpitate, or I would cry, or I would be angry sometimes. So the positives is that it's a stronger connection with others and the ability to provide comfort and healing to someone else. Had she been my reader, I would have seen her emotion. It makes me feel better, right, that I have emotion about it as well, because it's kind of hard sometimes when you're dealing with someone who's lost someone and they're deeply in grief and you show zero emotion. I think that's a weird place for the sitter to be. You know what I mean? But if you show too much emotion, that's also a weird place for a sitter to be, because now they don't know how to handle your emotion. And improved emotional intelligence. So that's one of the positives. So the double-edged sword of feeling others' emotions. Improved emotional intelligence means that you realize almost a devil's advocate, almost an empathetic walking in someone else's shoes. All right, the negatives, of course, of learning how to do this is that you absorb negative energy. So the energy vampires, the takers, right? There's a lot of takers in the world. And you can be overwhelmed, which I just talked about, from feeling the emotions of others. So if you're already having a hard day, the last thing you need to do is tap into somebody else who's having a hard day as well, right? And then the frustration when sensing malicious people, but being unable to intervene. I remember I was learning how to be a CASA, which is Court Appointed Special Advocate. This was absolutely decades ago in Kansas. I only even had one child at the time. And that tells you how long ago it was, right? And if you're new here, I'm on YouTube and I'm also on TikTok. When I get off YouTube, I'm going to hop over to TikTok and do some free card reads and answer more questions. I used to do handwriting analysis, and I used to really live. You lived in Kansas too? And I used to do handwriting analysis. And as I was sitting in this class, and anyone that knows what CASA is, you deal with very vulnerable children within the court system, and you are their advocate. Well, what do people who have malicious intent do? They volunteer to work with children who are vulnerable. And as I'm sitting next to this guy, his handwriting was just like jumping into my face. And I was like, oh my, he is absolutely, I used to have a book, and it was called, it was about graphology, and it was so graphology is just handwriting analysis. And they also have the fancier version that they do forensic handwritten analysis, right? Anyways, his handwriting just kept jumping up in me, and I knew, because it was very thick, it was very, I can't remember exactly all the things. I can see it in my mind's eye, but I can't explain it exactly. All of that to say, I knew that he was a predator. What am I going to do with that information? I knew it in my gut. I knew it because of the handwriting. I knew it because I was psychic and didn't realize it. I mean, we're all psychic, don't get me wrong, but I didn't realize that I could feel other people at way back then, right? I just thought it was my imagination. I always thought it was just my imagination, because being raised up, right, people always constantly said, oh, you're so imaginative. You watch a lot of TV, don't you? Oh, and then we'll tackle this Shannon person on TikTok in just a minute. So what is my frustration then with that is that I'm sitting next to this person that I know is going to be working with vulnerable children, and I have literally no way to do anything. No one, especially in Kansas, especially 30 some odd years ago, no one is going to sit there and go, oh, you don't like his handwriting? Oh, you feel like he's a predator? That isn't how it works, right? They would have thought I was crazy. They would have thought that I had a vendetta against this guy. They would have thought it was just libel or defamation, or that I was just being petty, right? So that was frustrating, and I still think about that today. I'm telling the story today, so obviously I still think about it today, right? So I think it's very frustrating when you do sense maliciousness or evil in someone and you can't do anything about it. And then number 7, and then we'll close this down for questions. We've been going about 24 minutes. We're going to do about 20 to 30 minutes every Saturday. I'll do it on YouTube, and I'll simultaneously do it on TikTok. But this is about psychic abilities, and next Saturday we're going to talk about the clairs, and I'll give you a little teaser here in a minute. But number 7 about psychic, we're going to do I made my own notes and then forgot. So we're going to do a little exercise, okay? So one of the things I want to end these with is a little exercise that you can take with you, and you can do it right now or you can do it later. But more or less, strengthening your ability to sense energy around people or objects. So you're going to find a quiet place with a partner or an object that belongs to someone else, right? So you have a place with a partner, quiet place with a partner, or you're going to grab an object that belongs to someone else. You're going to close your eyes, you're going to take deep breaths, and you're going to clear your mind. And you're going to hold your hands near the object or the person's aura. So let's say you have a partner who is on social media, right? So through Zoom or through a video app or through TikTok or something like that, you can still do this. It doesn't have to be in person, but you're going to hold your hands 6 to 12 inches away from the object or the person's aura. And then you're going to focus on any sensations that you get, whether that's tingling, whether that's warmth, whether that's coolness, or whether that's emotional impressions. So I use this one a lot because when I got this one, I actually have a yellow one that kind of represents my mom, but the white one was lonely. And it's just a little cast iron bird that I got at Hobby Lobby. But if I were to hand this to someone else, what would they feel from me, from this object, right? So this dips into a little bit of psychometry. Um, Psychic impression, psychometry, we can call, there's different names for everything. But you're going to hold your hand about 6 to 12 inches away. So if I was doing this, let's say I took Jamie on TikTok and I went like this, and I'm imagining Jamie and I'm picturing her aura and I'm picturing her 6 to 12 inches away from my hand. What do I feel? And at the moment, I feel a little bit tired. Jamie, you'll have to let me know if this resonates with you. Feel a little bit tired. Aura wise, I'm getting blue greens with a smidgen of pink around this side of my head. So this would be the right side of her head. I'm getting a smidgen of a pink aura. But I'm getting tired. I mean, it's Saturday morning, so any skeptic would be like, duh, it's Saturday morning. Of course she's tired. I think it's a little more than that. I think I feel a little bit, maybe I would even go so far as to say defeated at the moment. So you'll have to let me know if that resonates with you, Jamie. And then when you're focusing on those sensations, you need to describe what you perceive without overthinking it, right? Ah, Hannah was getting pink for her too. I love that. And that's one of the coolest things is when you can validate your findings with someone else. I love that. All right. So you're going to describe what you perceive without overthinking it. So the first things that come to mind, the first things you see, the first things you feel, heat, warmth, tiredness. Maybe somebody's happy. Maybe somebody woke up and got, morning wood. sorry, YouTube. I'm very inappropriate on TikTok. So what, you know what I'm saying? Jamie said, been very tired, been up since 3 a.m. and have 2 grandchildren this morning. Oh my goodness. Yeah, very much. Barefoot weddings. All right. And then you're going to compare your impressions with your partner's feedback, right? And so that's what we just did with Jamie. She said she validated that. Very tired. She's been up since 3 a.m. She has her 2 grandchildren this morning, right? So this is what you're going to practice with. Now, when we use our own body to tap into someone else, this is kind of a beginning step when you see me use my hand, because more or less at this point in my ability, skills, whatever you want to call it, I could just tap in without, putting my hand up. But this is how you kind of want to practice, because it gives you a sensation. It gives you a feeling. It's almost like a receiver, right? It's almost like a receiver. All right, this exercise helps you develop clairsentience, which is clear feeling, and strengthens your energy perception. These words are very difficult for me to say this morning. I don't know why. I have not been up since 3 a.m., thankfully. All right, so there we go. These are the reasons to start to develop your psychic abilities. We're going to do these Saturday mornings. They're going to last about 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. We've been on here about 30 minutes now. I know I was going to give you a teaser for next Saturday. So I'm going to try and start these at 10 a.m. I got started a little bit early this morning, which is not... Well, let me ask on TikTok. What's a good time for you guys on Saturday mornings? What's the best time? Give me some ideas. And I'm going to talk about the clairs. We're going to dip into the clairs next Saturday, talking about ESP more. We touched on it today. We touched on the clairvoyance, the clairaudience, the clairsentience, the claircognizance, the telepathy, precognition, retrocognition, and psychometry. And we'll get more into those as we go along, right? As we do the March and April Psychic Saturdays. And I will get better at teaching it, because this is a little bit different than what I normally do. I normally get on TikTok and I just talk, right? So now we have a goal, if you will. Oh my gosh, yeah, Hannah was said, so Hannah's in Hungary, and she's said she was working today and had to use English with customers and couldn't switch languages. That's super interesting. Okay, Charlize likes 10 to 11. Okay. Anyone else have a time preference? Because I kind of like 10 as well. I got started a little bit early this morning, which is not normal for me. But next Saturday, again, we're going to dip more into that there's more than just the five senses. There's more than just the clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and claircognizance. There's also clairempathy, right? There's also clairgustance. I don't know how to say that very well, but we'll get into that next Saturday, and I will tell you exactly what those are. As a teaser, clairempathy is clear emotional feeling, and it's kind of what my student the other night kind of went through, right? That clear empathy where she literally feels what the other person is feeling. All right, Shay, we're going to come over to TikTok now. I'm going to do some free reads over there because YouTube is meant for the class, if you will. And I don't see any comments on YouTube. I wonder how I find that. Let's see, let's go down here. Chat viewing options, live chat. Okay, well, it was funny. I just went to somewhere else. I'm not seeing any comments on YouTube. All right, I look silly. All right. Yeah, there's no content. So nobody's used to seeing me live on YouTube yet, so this will be a practice, right? This will be the practice. And also, I tell you what, TikTok just really, I want YouTube to know that you should make us look better like TikTok does. All right, I'm going to get off of YouTube. I'm going to pop over to TikTok, and we're going to start doing some one-card reads. I don't know how to get off of YouTube. Let's see. Oh my goodness.